Hey, how are you, Mayor Jimenez? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I had some technical issues. It's really the first time I use Instagram like this, so I'm getting some folks to let me know how to use it. Okay, sorry I'm a little late.
No,
I
it's
was
all right.
actually on
It's all right. It's
time.
only 3 or 4 minutes, and I know that you're super busy. So I just want to
Yeah,
say, thank you, obviously, for joining us. It's some crazy times, and obviously, you have a lot on your plate. So really appreciate you taking out, 20, 25 minutes to kind of talk to us. I'm just going to do a brief introduction for people who don't know who you are. But Mayor Jimenez is a Cuban American. He was a former firefighter and was chief of the Miami Fire Department before entering politics. He's been mayor now since 2011. He's been running a government of more than 28,000 employees and a $8.9 billion budget. And it looks like he'll be running for Congress in November. So obviously, good luck with that, and
thank you.
obviously expect something excellent there. Prior to getting into COVID, because I think everyone wants to get into that, I just want to maybe backtrack a little bit and just, since you've been mayor for almost a decade now, how have you seen Miami-Dade change in the last decade under your mayorship?
Well, one of the things that we learned pretty quickly when I became mayor is that we were having a brain drain here in Miami-Dade County. A lot of our young talented people were leaving, and we decided that we needed to do something about that. And it had two benefits. Number one, keep our brightest here, but also attract new talent into Miami-Dade. And so we set out on a pretty aggressive path to make us a tech center, a center of innovation, a center of entrepreneurship. We invested in the eMERGE conference, and we also invested in tech startups and accelerators, those kind of things. We put money into that, and we had pretty good success. And so the Kauffman Institute has rated Miami as the #1 place for startups in the nation, outpacing even Silicon Valley.
Wow.
And so so we've seen that transformation. We wanted to diversify the economy, which we've done pretty well, attracting businesses, attracting people, attracting investment. And so you've seen a lot of people coming and relocating here from New York in particular, the Northeast in particular, but also as far away as California, Chicago, the Midwest, where we're going to a place where, well, we are the gateway to the Americas, and we have pretty interesting demographics. We are actually minority majority here, and so it attracts a lot of people. And again, we speak over 100 languages, people from all over the world, and this is becoming really was until the coronavirus hit, one of the real hot real estate markets in the world, not just the United States. And so we have people coming in from the United States, but also coming in from all around the world. And so we grew from around 2.3, 2.4 million people to 2.8 million people during my time here. And so, no, Miami has really changed a lot. The skyline changed, a lot of different development, and again, a lot of people moving in, but also what our bread and butter is, our economy has also changed somewhat in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm. So what is the centerpiece of the economy here in Miami? How has that changed? You talk about bringing in more tech. What was it before, and what is it now in terms of leading the economy?
Well, look, the two leading economic engines of this county are still the same. It is Miami International Airport and the Seaport. The Miami International Airport at the height was either directly or indirectly employing about 300,000 people here. It's about the same amount for the Seaport, indirectly or directly, about 250,000 people are tied to the Seaport. So over 500,000 jobs in South Florida are tied to our airport and our Seaport. We are a major logistics center for the United States, but also for Latin America. We are, for all intents and purposes, the capital of Latin America. And so what has changed? No, it hasn't changed. What we did is we enhanced it. We made significant investments in both the airport and the Seaport, over $1 billion in the Seaport, probably to the tune of about $3 or $4 billion in the airport, because they are our two leading economic generators. And that really drives a lot of the other things that happen. The reason why a lot of tech companies come here is because it's easy to get to. It's easy to get to other places, especially South America, Latin America, It's easy to ship your goods from Port Miami. The expansion of the Panama Canal has helped us tremendously. We also deepened our port so we can accept post-Panamax ships. So we can get your goods to market here easy. And if you are interested in the South American and Central American and Caribbean market, there's no better place to be than be down here. And so the things that drive our economy are still the same things, but we increased the percentages of those other things: technology, entrepreneurship, all that. So number one is probably still tourism, logistics, and the airport and the seaport trade, and those really what drives Miami-Dade, along with real estate, and the construction industry really drives the economy down here.
Got you. Now everyone's obviously been affected by COVID, but everything you just mentioned, right? Tourism, the seaport, the airport, all of that has basically grinded to a halt.
Yep.
What has that done for the economy here, considering that those are the leading drivers of our economy?
Well, that's one of the things that really concerns me about COVID-19. Look, our airport, yesterday we should have had about 105,000, 110,000 passengers coming through our airport. We probably had about 30,000, so it's cut it by about 70%. We were the cruise ship capital of the world, and cruise ships are not sailing at all. So we have no passengers, and that was 70% of our income for the port. So yeah, that's a great concern. And then how quickly will that rebound after COVID-19? We want to, get the cruise ships going as quickly as possible, because not only does it drive cruise ship passengers, it also drives passengers into MIA, and also hotel nights here and in our community. So the COVID-19 has hit us pretty hard, and I think it'll have some negative consequences in the foreseeable future until we get a vaccine, until things start to go again, and people are confident and feel secure in traveling on airplanes and on our ships.
And what can you as mayor or the government here in Miami do to restart the cruise industry, restart the airline industry? I mean, it's obviously, that's going to require confidence of the people, but what are you guys actively doing to reboost those two forms of tourism?
Well, the one thing we got to do is we got to keep the companies viable. Got to keep the airlines viable. We got to keep also the cruise ship viable. We've had an uptick in trade cargo at the airport. We've seen a significant increase in cargo traffic. But unfortunately, until this virus, until we have a vaccine, and people feel secure in vacationing and traveling, there's not much that the government can do. I mean.
Yeah.
The demand was there because people wanted to come here. They will want to come here again once this virus is over. I'm sure that once we open up the cruise ships and everybody knows, hey, this is kind of over, or we put significant safety measures into the cruise ships and into our airlines and all, then we may have it come back. We do have, the hotels are starting to come back. People are starting to, but it's mostly domestic travel. International travel is shut down. You can't get into South America. You can't get out of South America. We can't go to Europe. They can't come here. So until all that opens up, it's going to be tough times here in Miami-Dade. There's really not much that we can do until this pandemic's over.
Now, supporting the cruise industry and the airline industry, is that on a federal level or is that on a county or state level?
Well, it could be both. The CARES Act did not give the cruise industry any kind of relief, but it did give airports relief. So we got about $200 million from the federal government for our airport, specifically for our airport, but our ports did not get any. Miami-Dade has done its part. We offer free berthing to cruise ships, and so normally there is a berthing fee that when they come and dock alongside, you charge them a certain amount of money as part of our income. Since they shut down, we're not charging them anything for berthing alongside the Port Miami, so that helps them with their bottom line as much as we can help them. And then in terms of airlines and our concessionaires at the airport, we have renegotiated a lot of those deals so that we make it easier for them to stay in business, knowing that we're only running at 30% capacity here with our passengers. They're going to take a hit on the income side, so we're also relaxing some of our requirements, some of the payments that are due to us to help them. So those are the things that we do on a local level.
Yeah. And obviously everyone needs to do their part, social distancing, wearing masks, washing your hands. How hard is it as a mayor of such a large county to enforce these relatively simple rules? I mean, I think to the common person, you look at it and you're like, we have no one to blame but ourselves. We're not doing our part. But as mayor, how difficult is it to enforce these simple rules that can make such a dramatic impact?
Well, it depends on the place. If you're walking outside and one of our police officers, one of our code enforcement officers sees you without a mask, it's pretty easy to enforce. The problem is, when you get behind closed doors, when you get, into a private home, we do have the Fourth Amendment. It's freedom from unreasonable search and seizure. And so we may think that you have a party going on inside, but unless we have proof, we can't go in there and just say, okay, open up. We want to see who's in here. That's against the Constitution. And so that makes it really hard. So it really is, if somebody wants to break the rule, they can. And if they want to get away with it, there's ways to get away with it. But, that's why personal responsibility is so important. That's why personal responsibility is the only way that we're going to beat this virus. There are things that we do, obviously, to make it harder. We instill a curfew. And so after 10 o'clock, if you're out and about, you need to explain, and a police officer stops you, you need to have a pretty good excuse as to why you're out and about. You can't say, well, gee, I'm going over to this party. That's not what we want. We want to curtail the social interactions, social partying, social activities, especially with young people, because it was the young people that started this spike. We saw a dramatic rise in the positivity rates of kids from 18 to 34. And that then eventually led to, spreading on a community-wide basis. Now that we're opening up opening up our restaurants again and some other businesses, we want to make sure that doesn't happen again. A little concerned with what's happening with the University of Miami and FIU dorms again. So I need to talk to the universities and see what they're doing to make sure that their kids, that the students aren't partying, aren't getting together.
Now, how involved are you as mayor? How involved are you with those universities? Are you in constant contact with, let's say, President Frank to see what are the infection rates? What are they doing to keep the kids safe? Or are you hands off and letting the universities manage themselves independently?
Well, we started off hands off, but I won't be hands off. We're having meetings with both of them in a second. You have to excuse me a second. I'm getting a really scratchy throat, so I'm going to
no problem.
You'll have to go off for a second, okay?
No problem.
Okay, that's better.
All right.
All right.
So we were just talking about the universities and being hands off, and kind of, moving forward. Are you going to be involved in terms of how the university handles their classes, their dorms, their social life?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to get more involved. After we saw that incident where a bunch of University of Miami kids ended up being positive and they're quarantining, I want to make sure that what they're doing is the right thing. I also want to make sure that that they're being kind of watched, okay, especially in the dorm setting, and that they don't go off to certain areas and have parties and get together and all that. That's the worst thing they can do. Yeah. And since we're starting to open up again, I don't want to have that become again the reason why we have this community spread. And so, yeah, I'll be more involved with both universities from this point forward.
And you had mentioned about reopening up. It looks like we went through a peak. The numbers appear to be favorable, somewhat coming down. Yeah. Maybe go through what your reopening plan is for the next month, 2-3 months, kind of restaurants, theaters, bars, all that.
Well, we announced that we're reopening up the interior spaces of restaurants on Monday. We'll also be opening up casinos on Monday too. We have Native American casinos that we can't regulate, and they're open right now. And, it wasn't fair to the ones that we can regulate, especially since we can regulate them. So we're going to be opening up on Monday also. The school system is they're governed by the school board and the superintendent. They will do virtual schooling initially, and then as the numbers go down, I'm sure they'll start to open up some real classes. We don't anticipate having to close beaches for the Labor Day weekend, but these are the two things we're opening up now, and then after Labor Day, we'll start looking at opening up additional spaces and businesses. Look, the vast majority of businesses in Miami-Dade are actually open right now. There are some things. The one thing that we don't anticipate opening for some time will be places like bars. That is just an exceedingly dangerous activity. It really, you can't ask for people to be social distance in a bar. Discotheques, that kind of stuff, that probably won't be open for some time.
Yeah. What do you think about larger social events? So like Art Basel, Ultra, sporting events, Miami Dolphins, Heat. I'm assuming that's going to take a vaccine for a large sporting event, or Art Basel, which is not that far away.
Well, that's also interesting too. I mean, we just announced that for Miami Dolphin and Hurricane football, they will have limited capacity, limited seating. So you will have live audiences at the Hard Rock Stadium, but they really took some extraordinary measures. It's all contactless. You have an entry time, so it's not like everybody's going in at the same time. There is no tailgating. They will make sure that on the grounds. When you go in, you don't even have to take things out of your pocket. They have new magnetometers that everything is contactless. You can ask for and order your food through the phone. You can walk up, pick up your food, go back to your seat. And even the seats that are supposed to be non-occupied, they're not just simply folded. They are basically tied shut, so you can't open them.
Wow.
Yeah, and what they've done is they have groups of seatings, and so they have most are groups of 2. You may have groups of 4. You may have up to groups of 8, but that's rare. But and then you're 6 feet apart in every direction from the next grouping. So they've done some extraordinary things there, and being outdoors, and you have to wear your mask all the time. So that's a lot safer than, say, a basketball game, a hockey game, interior space. That's a lot more problematic. So we're not looking at doing that. But the Hard Rock Stadium is okay, and then they Fort Lauderdale, they may be able to do the same thing with MLS and baseball, as long as they keep it open. But it's interesting. The Marlins haven't asked me to look at any kind of plans to have fans in their stadium. I guess MLS Major League Baseball has taken the stand that they don't want any fans in any of their stadiums, and so that's not going to be available either. Art Basel, that's in December. We'll see what happens, as our numbers go down, and what kind of measures can be taken to have that kind of an event. It's really important for the economy. Art Basel, we have a huge artist community here, and that's a huge event, and I don't want to. I won't be the mayor then in December, but I may be able to set the rules for it so that it could happen. Not saying it's going to happen, but I'm not saying it's not going to happen. So got to sit down with
Too early to tell.
Yeah, it's too early until we know. Look, a lot of people are expecting a second wave to come late fall, October, around that time. Let's see what happens, and then we'll make a decision then.
Got you. Another big question for people is the voting in the midst of a pandemic, not only on a national level, but also local level. How ideally would you see voting done in this current environment? Obviously, it's difficult to go in person, the volunteers. So if you could just kind of go over, how would you what's the safest way to get genuine votes done in this situation? It's tough.
No, I mean, the safest way is obviously with an absentee ballot. We've had this process for decades, and while we had about 5, 6, 10 years ago, we had issues with absentee ballots with, not that the ballots didn't get in, but people actually handing their ballots to somebody and then maybe that individual having the ability to manipulate that vote. We've eradicated that pretty well. So the absentee ballots is a very safe way to vote. You can do that. That is the safest way to vote. You don't have contact with anybody. But during this last primary, we had early voting, and we also had day of voting, traditional day of voting. So whichever way, it's all safe, but obviously the safest way is absentee. When I'm talking about COVID, COVID related. So, but some people are adverse, or they think that, hey, somebody can manipulate my absentee ballot. I'd rather go in person. If you want to go in person, you can go early. You can go, or you can go to a normal voting site. I know that I'm a traditionalist. I went to my polling place on election day, and I voted. It took me all of 5 minutes, okay, because we have 700 polling places open. And about 60% of the election, or 60% of the people vote either early or absentee. So you're really talking about 40% now spread out over 700 precincts. It's not going to have to be much of a problem. So any way you want to do it, it's safe. Safest way, absentee.
Have you guys had to take any extra precautions with the increase in absentee ballots, early voting? Have you had to put any extra resources towards that since there's going to be more absentee ballots?
Yeah, we need more workers on the absentee ballot side. We got people that have to open up the ballots and then run them through the scanner and all. But again, absentee ballots come in. They don't all come in on the same day, and so it's it's pretty spread out. We have the right number of people to do that. Our supervisor of elections, Christina White, does an excellent job. We have sufficient number of volunteers. It's Miami-Dade County that runs the election, and Miami-Dade County personnel run the election. And so we have our people alongside, some people that get paid on a daily, hourly basis. But the vast majority of those precincts are being run by Miami-Dade County personnel. Everything's good. Everything's fine. I heard of no problems during this last election cycle, either on any of the 3 voting methods, absentee, early, or day of.
Got you. As we wrap up here, I just want to look towards the future. As you said, you're going to be running for Congress and you won't be mayor. But what are the 3 biggest challenges facing this county? What are the 3 biggest problems for the next mayor that they're going to have to handle?
Number one, right off the bat, you're going to have a big budget problem. Not this fiscal year. I'm finishing up next fiscal year, this fiscal year 2021. That'll be done under my administration. It's a balanced budget. You're going to be able to maintain all the services. But the impact on the local government of this COVID-19 will probably be felt in fiscal year 21-22. And so the next mayor is going to have a pretty big hole to fill in fiscal year 21-22. We're going to try to keep as much money available for the next mayor in reserve so that they can dip into that. But it's a problem. Look, but again, it's not. I don't think it's going to be a bigger problem than when I started in 2011. I right off the bat had to fill a $400 million budget hole in the operating budget, which was only about $2 billion. Okay, it was about $2 billion in the operating budget. It was a good 10-15% of that operating budget I had to make up, and we did. We had to tighten our belts, and then we had to make some difficult choices. We had to stop hiring people. We reduced the number of employees in Miami-Dade by 2,000, but no critical services were cut, and so that's going to be a challenge for the next mayor. Transportation maybe is going to be a challenge for the next mayor. We know that this. I expect COVID-19 to be. It's not only a deadly virus. It's a disruptive virus. The way that we do business is going to be different. And so, even the way that we do medicine, that we go to our doctors, my wife now and I sometimes do virtual visits, and they're just fine. I don't have to go sit in a doctor's office for 2 hours and wait for the doctor and all that, and then, take basically half a day to go to a doctor. I take half an hour to go to a doctor now, all right? and I get done what I need done. Now, obviously, if you need some kind of intervention, right, you have to go see the doctor. But just for office visits, consultation, do I really have to? No, it's been proven that I don't really have to do that. Same thing goes for me. I'm broadcasting right now. Where am I? I'm in my house. I'm not in my office. All right. I've been in my office probably 5 times in the last 4 months, and I've never been busier. I've never gotten more things done than working out of my house. Now, how many trips have I saved? And so I see that this is going to be a very disruptive virus. Will transportation be the same issue that it was 6 months ago? Right? Right now, you can go anywhere in Miami-Dade County. There's really no traffic. I mean,
Yeah.
people are back and working, right? But there's not the traffic jam that we used to have, all the time. And so, we were about to spend billions and billions of dollars on mass transit. Is that going to be necessary? Or could you put that off for a while, until it comes back? I think some things are never going to come back. I don't think we're going to be conducting business the same way. I also feel that and think that, and here's something that may exacerbate the situation with property taxes. We get a big bunch of our property taxes comes from downtown, the office buildings, right? Well, how many of those office buildings are going to be downsizing, that they're going to be letting their employees, have some of their days at home, right? Why do I need to go to the office? I've proven to myself that I don't need to go to the office, all right? I don't need to have, we have 6,000 of the Miami-Dade County employees of our 28,000 are working from home. I don't need them to be at the office. We haven't skipped a beat. Actually, we've even become more productive. A great example would be inspectors. And you think now inspectors would actually have to go somewhere and look at something, right? We're doing all that stuff virtually. We say, okay, I want you to point the camera at this, at that brick over there, or at that door over there, and I want to see that sign over here. And now I have inspectors that maybe were able to do 10 inspections a day, now can do 20 inspections a day without ever leaving their home. That means I've just taken 40 trips off the road, and that has a multiplying effect. And so, transportation should be a big issue for the next mayor, but I'm not sure it's going to be a big issue until we get our traffic back. And I don't know if that traffic is ever going to come back the way we were used to. Thank God. That's one good thing about it, right?
Yeah.
And then, the final thing is affordable housing. We need more affordable housing in Miami-Dade County. We have made tremendous strides working with HUD, and which I think that, by the way, the Secretary Carson and HUD done extraordinary work. The director, our HUD director, our housing director, Michael Liu, has done extraordinary work, done very innovative things where we have rehabbed and rehabilitated and created new housing for the elderly and for the less privileged, our poor community. I think we've done a tremendous job, but without a doubt, we need more, affordable housing. And then the recovery of the economy. How can we, get back on our feet again, and get our airport working again, our seaport working again, get people back to work again. That's going to be the challenges for the next mayor.
Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting what you said. I mean, as devastating as this virus is, there is going to be positives. There are going to be positives that come out of it, just like you said about transportation and traffic and working from home. So that's a very interesting part of the pandemic that no one really talks about. Thank you for your time, Mayor Gimenez. Obviously, amazing leadership on your part over the last nearly a decade. We're obviously grateful. You've turned Miami into one of the real cultural epicenters. And obviously, good luck with your run for Congress.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I really do. I really appreciate it. And thank you for having me. And it's been a very stimulating talk. Look forward to another one soon.
All right. Take care. Okay. Have a great day.
You too. All right, bye-bye.